Welcome to Be Now for March 28th, Tuesday, March 28th. Wow, the month has flew by. I'm Don McLeod, and I'm usually joined by Fazal Khan. Faz, how's it going today?
And I'm usually here on time.
Excellent, excellent. Which is sometimes it's 30 seconds before air, you slide into the seat.
Just to let everybody know, we're changing the format of our visuals a little bit, and I'm going to press the wrong button. So if I do, it'll be a little more interesting tonight.
All right, why don't we go through the agenda, see what we got going tonight?
Okay, so first we're going to talk about why it seems Canada is becoming more violent. There's a couple stories, one in Toronto, one in Vancouver. We'll quickly talk about. I'll talk about student mental health, more of a personal story, and we'll share. And then the big story is the Weekend Go train service, and we have Chris Drew here. Chris Drew is our local transportation train expert. We're going to call him an expert.
Okay.
And then we're going to, after Chris has some stuff he's got to do that he's going to invite everybody to go to. And if you're not interested in that, you can stay with us because we're going to talk a little bit about the federal budget. And then one of the big things that in the budget that I really love, so you got to stick around for that. So violence, Don, before we get to Chris, and he's waiting in our green room. But there's a couple things that happened this weekend. One was the 16-year-old at the Keele subway station in Toronto that was murdered by, I guess, a homeless person. And the 16-year-old was just waiting. I heard a little bit from the mom today, and she's calling for more resources for mental health. But she is in pain and agony as any mom would. And the 16-year-old is just like any other 16-year-old, loved snowboarding, was looking forward to their future. And then in Vancouver, where my daughters are, I was thinking about the TTC, and I'm thinking I really don't want anybody I know on the TTC because it just seems every day or every other day some stabbing is going on that system. And then I looked at my Twitter feed, and then in Vancouver there was a young man in his 30s that was stabbed either inside or outside of Starbucks by another man just on a Sunday afternoon at 5:30. In front of people. There was one person videotaping it. We're not going to show it here for obvious reasons. There's another person sitting outside just sipping their coffee while all this is going on. It was just so cavalier. What's going on, Don? Help me.
Yeah, no, cavaliers. I mean, I saw that video of the person. Yeah, there's a guy there's a guy sipping his coffee. There's another guy filming it. It's like, there seems to be a trend against millennials and stuff like that. Instead of dropping the phone and maybe, helping the guy or calling for people to help. I mean, you just don't sit there. Guy stabbed, he's bleeding to death on the sidewalk, and you're sipping your coffee. I mean,
I can understand if you get up and run, but you don't sit there.
No, but I mean, maybe, at some point in time, go look for a cop or, help or, call 911, get on your phone and call 911 so the paramedics can get there. Maybe the police as well. You don't film it. I mean, I've seen too many times where, young people are filming stuff, gang fights and everything else as they're going on. It's like, people talk about this. I don't know. The TTC, the last time I was on the TTC, there was I noticed a couple of people that, weren't right in the head. They're traveling the TTC. Fare collectors along the TTC, people skip fares all the time. There's no way that they're going to engage with these people. They just let them get on and get off. It's like, you want to be a fare jumper? No problem. I'm not going to bother you. Because there are a lot of nuts, and it depends on where you're going. If you're going along the St. Clair area, right across town, there's a lot of areas there where there's a lot of transients. So, I can.
But at the same time, Don, you just used a word there that I don't. You said nuts. I think. It's mental health. People in need of mental health services, right? And I heard the premier today say, don't vote in anybody for the Toronto mayoral race who's not going to support the police. I think that's his way of getting off the hook, because I think the province needs to invest in mental health. Both the provincial and the federal government need to do more to help with mental health, which leads into our next segment, Don, which is student mental health.
All right.
So one of the reasons we missed last week's show is I was in Vancouver with my daughter, who has an ACL injury to her knee after her first run down Whistler during Family Day. It was Family Day here. I'm not sure what they call it in BC. But anyway, she's I think week 4, week 5 now into this. The school is not being supportive in terms of her classwork and all that. Now they told her she's on the waiting list for second year housing. She probably should start looking off campus. I don't know how she's going to do that on crutches. Plus, she's had to drop one course just because it's a lab course. You need to be mobile, and they're not. So, my daughter will be fine. We're supporting her, but I'm thinking of all the other students who don't have the family support, who don't have the financial support, who might be foreign students even. It is terrible, especially after coming out of a pandemic, what these students have to face.
Well, I was going to comment basically in regards to the foreign students, because you and I saw an article basically that I think it was like 153 students were basically going to be kicked out of the country because of the visa papers that were filled out by someone who brings these students in. I mean, foreign students is, like a lot of these foreign students are coming in. There's life savings of their parents to go get a good education in North America, right? Whether it be Canada, the United States, they look at it and say, go to Canada, get a good education, and so on and so forth. They put their trust in a lot of these organizations and university or colleges, and to have this happen is, it's a shame. I mean, they come over here looking for an opportunity to get a degree, whatever it happens to be, to improve themselves. And a lot of them are, like I said before, the parents are coughing up life savings to send them over here. So mental health in regards to that, yes. And how many people, we talked about this to Darshan, how many people, immigrant students are shipped back in basically coffins every week, right? That's a statistic that nobody seems to want to admit to, but I know Darshan was on that and he was talking about it on a regular basis. It seems to be almost one a week. That's what he was talking about. So
yeah, it is sad. But on a brighter note now, Don, let's move on to something new and exciting that's happening in Brampton. And we're going to let Chris Drew explain what's going on. I gotta click the right buttons here, Don. Here we go.
All right, go ahead.
Here we go. I did it right. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good, Chris.
We can't hear you though, Chris. You might want to get a little closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
Okay. So, Chris, tell us what. Obviously, me and Don know what's going on, but maybe just explain what the announcement is, and why it's why I think it's very important. But why do you think it's a significant announcement?
Sure, and thanks for having me on. So the headline is that on Saturday, April 8th, there will be GO train service through Brampton. So that's the Mount Pleasant GO train station. That is the downtown Brampton GO train station. That is the Bramalea GO train station within Brampton. And then obviously the trains interact with Malton, Weston, Bloor, and Union. But this is very exciting news. And the reason why this is so exciting news is because it's the first time in 48 years that Brampton has had weekend GO train service. We've had GO bus service for a number of years, of course, but this is the first time we've had permanent GO train service. So now, if you want to take transit, there's no difference in terms of trains between weekdays and weekends. There's obviously differences in terms of the schedule between weekdays and weekends. But when you see those tracks, if it's a weekday or weekend, at some point there will be a GO train you can get on or get off. So that's very exciting for many reasons.
And so, Chris, I'm not a frequent GO train user. My wife is. She takes it every day into Toronto. I would have to go and read and find out where to get a Presto card and all that kind of stuff. But maybe for people like me, maybe walk us through how do we use a GO train? I'm going to be very basic, right? Because if you're already using GO train, you probably hear it on the announcements on your way in, right? Already that there's new service. But explain, how do you get on a train on Metrolinx?
Sure. Well, the best way is to actually get that Presto card, because even if you use it occasionally, you are saving money compared to a regular fare ticket. So you can get a Presto card, and if you're an occasional user, you just tap on and you tap off. And it's really that simple. And the great thing is, as well, is the website can give you a rundown of all the trips that you take. But even if you're an occasional, even very occasional weekend user maybe of the GO train, there's actually a $15 all-you-can-ride flat fare pass that you can buy online in advance. And for some people, that might actually make sense because although you do save money using Presto, it's meant to be a loyalty incentive. So the more you use it, the more you save. But if you use it very occasionally, you can look to see if that weekend pass for a round trip is more advantageous. So if you go to gotransit.com, you can actually calculate your fare and do that comparison. So I would recommend getting a Presto card because it's just for the convenience factor of it, just being able to tap on, tap off, or you use the weekend pass and you can just have that on your phone in case a fare inspector comes by.
So I know there's also a weekend single day pass for $10. Yeah. So do you need a Presto card to use that, or you just go online and buy it?
You can go online, use it, and thanks for the correction. You're right. It's $10 through weekend, $15. Weekend for the $15 is for both Saturday and Sunday, and if it's a single weekend day, it's $10.
And so, clarify it again. Do I need a Presto card to buy that, or I can just go online and buy it?
No, you just go online and buy that, Faz.
You just go online and buy it, and then
Faz is such a Luddite. It's like like you have an EV card and you've never taken Go Transit.
Well, I want to take it because I hate driving into Toronto.
Well, here's the thing. Now, here's the big thing. It's over 48 years you're talking about. The mayor talked about 50 years. This has been on the books for so long, and I know the answer. But I mean, what was the big stumbling block, Chris, in regards to getting all way Go on the weekends? What is the biggest thing, and how is that actually now being finalized?
So just like in our region, there's a network of 400 series highways. There is a network of rail lines in our region. Go Transit now owns 80% of the tracks they run trains on, 80%. Unfortunately, the remaining 20% are owned by private freight railways, and these are their major transportation corridors for the economy, for goods. So unfortunately, the reality is that between Bramalea and Georgetown is owned by a private freight railway. So it requires negotiations, discussions, agreements, infrastructure upgrades to run more service because Go trains are short and fast and freight trains are long and slow. So you need to make sure that there's no conflict between those and that service can be run. So the good news is that it appears by the fact that service is starting on April 8th, that the province has reached an agreement with the freight rail owner and that weekend service is starting. And this is actually building on a large amount of infrastructure upgrades that have taken place, other investments that Go Transit has done for more crews, rolling stock, so they actually have the fleet to operate, other infrastructure improvements throughout the corridor. So finally, it's 2023. The crews are in place, the investment is in place, the agreement with the freight railway is in place, and this service will start on April 8th for the weekend.
So now I think it starts on 8 o'clock in the morning and goes to almost 12 o'clock at night, which is good for people who want to go to the downtown Toronto. They want to see something, or if people from Toronto want to come out to Brampton at the same time, it's good for going back and forth either way.
It's service is hourly. So
yeah.
The first train leaves Mount Pleasant at 7:49 a.m. and leaves at 10:49 p.m. And for Union Station, the first train leaves at 8:51 a.m. And then leaves Union Station at 11:51 p.m. So it's every hour. And the cool thing about this is the service level that folks along the Lakeshore corridor, stretching from Oshawa to Hamilton approximately, have benefited from for decades. So
right.
I always use the Lakeshore East line to visit my family in Ajax and Pickering. And the train, obviously, because it doesn't have to fight traffic getting into and out of downtown Toronto, is a lot more reliable, a lot more comfortable, and has the capacity. Because of the large population growth in Brampton and a huge amount of international students and young folks, transit is very well used to and from Toronto and Brampton. So there's been many times when I've been taking the Go bus to Brampton, and sometimes they might have to add a second bus, or you have standees. And it's very nerve-wracking to stand on a Go bus when it's going 100 kilometers an hour on the Gardiner Expressway. So it's a lot better customer service experience, and from a safety perspective, to have a seat or be on the rails instead of the bus having to fight traffic, and also, quite frankly, fight drivers, some of them who are very entitled, very selfish, and are reckless when they're driving and going around those Go buses. Absolutely reckless.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a long way to go before we get to the level that Europe has got like 50 years ago. Train service and rail service and bus service over in European countries is light years ahead of what Canada has. And let's hope that this is a good step forward, because when I go over there, I never drive a car unless I'm going from town to town. When it's an opportunity, basically, the rail service here. It'd be nice if we have a high-speed rail eventually in this country, 60 years after China did. But I guess that's another thing going forward. But this is a good opportunity for people to go back and forth, use the rail line instead of driving. I agree 100%.
And I'll just add, if I can, Don, there's another piece of exciting news that's a little under the radar, although it is public, that Metrolinx has started the procurement for a new third platform at the Brampton GO train station. So this means there's two tracks, two platforms, and this means they're moving in the direction of adding a third track and third platform to allow for even more service between Bramalea and Mount Pleasant. And again, this is about reducing the conflict between freight trains and GO trains so that you can actually run more GO trains. So that's again, the first time we've seen an indication that there's movement in this third platform in 48 years. So that's another very positive sign, not directly connected to this announcement for weekend service, but in the future, this could allow further weekend service. Instead of every hour, maybe it would be every 30 minutes or every 20 minutes, because the Lakeshore line started out with a frequency of every hour, and now it's every half an hour. And that's really important, because if people are going to a Jays game or Leafs game downtown, that's a lot of people that are getting on the train. So you want to run a lot of frequent service, or maybe going to the CNE. And hopefully even more service than every 30 minutes on weekends. Hopefully in the future, it's down to 20 minutes or 15 minutes. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, along that corridor, basically, it's increasing the amount of people in population is increasing along that corridor as well. I mean, that's something that a lot of people have talked about for the last 10 or 15 years, the amount of new housing developments, new people, the influx. Brampton wants to have more university students in the downtown core running through that corridor as well. So, that's important to be able to use and utilize public transportation. And, I agree, getting cars off the road is something that, if I didn't have to drive around all the time, you save yourself money on gas and time and everything else. So frequency is important as well, right? Waiting an hour between, in Europe, if you're lucky, 10 or 15 minutes between.
So Chris, I know you got to go, but where are you off to?
So I'm off to a public meeting that the city is holding right now called the Integrated Downtown Plan. So there's a lot of ideas, urban realm improvements suggested. They're calling it integrated because there's many projects proposed and underway for downtown Brampton. And so this is a public meeting to present the public the latest designs, ideas of how that project is moving forward.
Okay, all right, Chris.
And where is that, Chris, taking place?
So it's virtual, but if people just Google Integrated Downtown Plan Brampton, lots of information will come up. And if people have questions or comments, they can contact staff or their member of council.
Perfect.
Or maybe we could just have Chris back on next week and he tell us what happened.
Yeah, he could do all the legwork for us.
Yeah.
See how tonight's meeting goes. It'll be very interesting.
Perfect.
All right, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
All right.
Okay.
Did you see the fancy work with the screen?
Yeah, I saw the fancy work. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what do you? I know I was asking Chris some basic questions, but I can't remember the last time, to be honest, I was on a GO train. Can you take a bike on a GO train?
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah.
What about an electric bike?
I don't know about electric bike, but you can take a bike. There's spaces on the train where you can actually leave, like, luggage and stuff like that, so you can put it on there. I remember Kevin Montgomery used to take his foldable bike all the time on down there.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, now let's move on to the federal budget, Don. I didn't watch the budget, but I did read a little bit about it, and I have one thing I want to add when you're all said and done.
All right. So let's go over it. They're spending $497 billion, basically, right? They're projecting 40.1 billion is the deficit in the coming year. I think that works out to something like a 54% in regards to the GDP. So it's a big number. The spending is up from what they actually talked about in the first. It's something like $60 billion in new spending over the next 5 years. They've got tax credits for clean energy. $13 billion is the expected cost for Canadian dental benefit over the next 5 years. I'm not sure what the details are in that, because it's probably tied in some way, shape, or form to your income. That's got to be something that I know the NDP and Jagmeet Singh was pushing, so we'll see what the details are on that. They're spending almost $50 billion in healthcare flowing to provinces and territories in 2023, 2024. So the amount is increasing, but I'm not sure what the percentage is. I'd have to go back and take a look. This budget was only out for a couple hours, so you have to do a lot of homework. $2.5 billion. This is the one they were talking about for the cost of a one-time doubling the GST rebates to help low-income Canadians struggling with high prices and inflation. Well, I'm not sure what that number comes to, but it's a grocery rebate, they call it, a nod to high food prices to offset. I don't know what the number is going to be per person. I think something like there's 1 in 7 people are basically listed as on the poverty line. So that $2.5 billion, how much it actually generates down to a grocery rebate, I don't know. $4 billion for rural and northern Indigenous housing strategy. That's going to begin in 2024 to 2025. They didn't.
What about for Brampton? Anything in there for Brampton?
No, I don't see anything in Brampton or Toronto. They basically didn't release the amount of what it costs they're giving to Volkswagen to set up that battery manufacturing plant at St. Thomas. They didn't put a number to it, but they said it's going to be coming out in several weeks. So we don't know how much that number is. $158 million over 3 years to create a 988 suicide prevention phone line.
That's how we're going to address the mental health issue in Canada, is having a phone line.
I think so. $158 million, right? Over 3 years. So divide that by 3. They're actually, those money lenders, they're basically setting the annual rate as 35%. Not, even that is too high, right?
What's it now?
It used to is 60%.
Yikes.
Well, those payday, payday
Yeah,
loans.
but I didn't realize that,
that
they were at 60. I thought they were like a credit card, 20 something.
Well, even if you take a look at a credit card, if you take a look at the credit card interest rate, there's some credit cards that are 28.5%. Right? To me, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at, I think, a prime interest rate right now. If you're looking at prime interest rate, it's around 7.5% or 7.25%. How can you actually get away with 28% on when the Bank of Canada plus the interest rate is 7.5?
Yeah, I don't know. So like going from 60 to 35.
I mean,
it's still high, right? You
Yeah.
can never repay that debt if you're in that dire
That's 30
straits.
cents on the dollar. I mean, 33 cents on the dollar for every dollar you borrow, you're paying 35 cents in interest. That's insane. Right?
I did see another point. I think they're spending $12 million over 5 years, or I could be completely wrong. It's $12 million to develop a website to tell you your flood risk.
Yes, that is one of them also. Yeah, it's
a lot of money
risk. And
for a
I'm
website.
thinking, like, it's not only your flood risk, but it's like, I don't know. To me, that's like when I buy a house, I'm taking a look, and if I'm by water, yeah, I know there's a flood risk. Right.
Yeah, and you'd think municipalities would have
Well, Doug wants to develop the green belt. How much flood risk is that? You're on a floodplain, for Christ's sakes, right? $56 million spending allocated for protecting diaspora communities and all Canadians from foreign interference, especially intermeddling by Russia, China, and Iran.
How much money for that?
$56 million.
What?
Yeah. $200 million, the amount the government aims to provide the DND, Department of National Defense, so the Canadian military can donate equipment to assist Ukraine, including 8 Leopard 2 tanks. All right, so it's like you're giving $200 million to the military so that they can donate it to the Ukraine. So we don't get it, right? It's just we donate it. I don't get that. Why don't you just
Maybe they give it to the military. The military gives them their excess equipment, and the military goes buy new equipment for themselves.
I was in the military for 8 years. We never got new equipment, right? We were driving around 1954 Jeeps and 9mm pistols from.
Yeah, but that was in 1954. You were driving around 1954 Jeeps.
I don't get that one. This is one by Jugmeat Singh. The anti-scab legislation. Government is proposing to amend Canada's Labour Code to prohibit the use of replacement workers during a strike or lockout, fulfilling the commitment the Liberals made to the NDP. I thought that was already a law.
I don't know, Don.
I thought anti-scab legislation was already in the law, that you couldn't do that.
I don't know. No idea.
$100 million to Haiti police to equip and train them. $100 million. That's money out the window. You might as well say goodbye to $100 million to train Haiti police, equip and train them. I don't get that. I'm sorry, but you know what? I just, like, Haiti's been in a total, you know, I could say it on air because we're not really this, you know, but it's like been a big pile for ever since Baby Doc left. It's been, you know, mass chaos in Haiti, and it continues to be mass chaos in Haiti. How much money have Western democracies sunk into Haiti over the last 10 years? And it's still one of the most you know, screwed up countries in the hemisphere.
And I'm sure a lot of that money doesn't go where it's supposed to go. Right?
We're talking about people, you know, and I know. There's Swiss bank accounts are basically, you know, littered with all sorts of dictators around the world that have, you know, those accounts that this money goes to. 100 million. I don't know. I don't see the where that's gonna. That's just money out the window.
Can I talk about the budget?
What is yours, Faz, in the budget that you want to talk about?
I'm putting it on screen for everybody. We are getting a moon car, Don.
Ooh.
So 1.2 billion is being invested over the next 13 years, so almost $100 million a year, to develop a lunar utility vehicle for astronauts on future missions to the moon.
Wasn't that already developed?
That was from the 60s, Don. I think the technology is advanced. They want a couple more features, I'm sure. Maybe like air conditioning. I don't know, air conditioning.
What? What, you want to have you want to have an internal GPS and stuff like that?
I'm not sure that'll work on the moon, but yeah, that'd be cool. So, Don, the reason I'm excited about that is because I think that has implications to Brampton. Because, as you know, the Canadarm is developed here, and I think a lot of the robotics and remote control that's going to be happening through MDA at the plant they're building on Financial Drive. I think a lot of this could be coming to Brampton. I could be completely wrong, but that would be amazing if it was.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't have a rocket to actually ship that lunar utility vehicle to the moon.
That's why we have the Americans. They spend bucks, and we go up with them.
Exactly. They're the ones that build the rockets. We just actually put together, you know, like the arms and, you know, the wheels and stuff like that. And we basically hitch a ride, right? We got to hitch a ride on basically. Can we go on your rocket for, you know, launch this vehicle? Anyway, there's a lot of stuff in the budget. There's a lot of money being spent. Obviously, it's a situation where people are going to burrow down and see what exactly is in the budget and how much money is going to be spent. So it'll be interesting over the next couple of days to filter through. Obviously, the budget has got to be voted on. The Conservatives said they would never vote for it. I don't think the Conservatives have ever voted for a Liberal budget.
And the Liberals have probably never voted for a Conservative budget.
Exactly. So it's, you know, that's not a big surprise in regards to that.
Pierre Poilievre tell Biden he is the leader of the opposition, loyal opposition, and their job is to oppose the government.
Yeah,
that's why we have a healthy democracy. I'm not sure that's 100% true.
No.
Yeah, it's to oppose the government in specific things, not in everything, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well just, you know, be the Bloc Québécois, or, you know, like be someone like Max Bernier, right? Opposes everything, anytime, every time, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't make a difference. It's all bad. So there's a lot of things happening. Also, I mean, there was the Ruby Sahota, actually, I think it was last Thursday, mentioned, or this Thursday, mentioned, I think there's $666,000 to enhance the infrastructure at Heart Lake Conservation Area. Apparently, there's going to be the Toronto Conservation Area. They're going to upgrade washrooms, swimming pool deck, 3 trail wayfinding kiosks, access roads, parking lot, and 50 new accessible picnic tables for public use. So they're upgrading the Heart Lake Conservation Area. If you've never been there, there's a whole bunch of things up there that you can do, including the tree trek.
Yeah, have you ever done that, Don?
No, if I'm going to do a tree trek, I'll go to the Amazon forest or something like that, right?
Well, are you able to do it now with your brand new niece? You can.
Oh yeah.
Okay. No, it's actually really good. I would do it.
I know you've done it. It's like, you know what, like
a couple of times. It's fun. Yeah. You don't have to go to the Amazon. You can do it right here, Don.
No, there's actually they have some sort of the same type of thing in Niagara Falls where you go and it's you got the safety rigs and everything else. So yeah, I mean, if you're a kid and stuff like that is great. I mean, it's good for to get out, do stuff like that.
Don, this year,
yes,
we're gonna get our students to go, and we're gonna haul you there with us.
I don't have to haul. I can climb up a tree without a rope. You know that?
No, but you're saying go to the Amazon, go to Niagara Falls. We're gonna get you to go to Heart Lake and Brampton. You don't have to climb up a rope. They don't force you. There's like ladders.
I've jumped out of a plane, right? So you think a little climbing a tree is going to bother me?
You got to go over water too. A big span of water.
Ooh, I fall in the water. Ooh, I know how to swim.
Okay, all right. Challenge.
I'm a certified diver. Okay, so like, what else are you going to scare me with? If it was filled with alligators, yeah, that would be a problem. I would, or deadly
there are alligators in the Amazon, so that's why you should go to Brampton. Right? We got beavers here.
Yeah. Get attacked by a wild beaver. Yeah, okay, good luck.
All right, Don, we're overtime again as usual.
Nikki's basically her comment. Let's see what Nikki said. What about my broom? Will they accept brooms? Yes, Nikki, the what is it? The Wicked Witch of the West. Yes, they accept brooms as well, right? So,
and I actually put that up while you were speaking about the goat tree. Yeah, that was about to go to. Can you go on the? I don't know, Nikki. You set yourself up for harassment by Don by saying
basically,
that.
Yeah. But yeah, if you go on it's good for the person who wants to go on the weekend. Years ago, I've been waiting for the GO train when I first moved out to Brampton. Going back, and forth with the car on the weekends to go see a Jays game and stuff like that. It was a real pain in the ass. But right now, I mean, I don't use it as much because number one, to go to Toronto is a hassle anyway. Even though you get down there, it's a hassle moving around in downtown Toronto right now. Forget about
Well, every time I go down there, I'm driving and I got to worry about parking. I just want to get out of there. Now, I actually might enjoy Toronto a little bit more. Well, one of the things we didn't talk about, I know we're way over time, is the opportunity to get Toronto people into Brampton.
Yeah, that's the other opportunity, right? So you have students to come out. We have the medical university starting. When is that? Next year or the year after? Next year, I think they're starting to set up.
2025, I think.
2025. So that's going to be a situation as well to bring the students out. Plus, Algoma University we have out here, and then we want to have the other university. So,
I saw a comment by, her name, The Fold. The Fold is running.
Oh yeah.
Who runs The Fold, Don?
I know who it is, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she was commenting that the new service is just in time for the Fold. So I guess they have things going on the weekend, and that is so convenient, right? You hop on a GO train. I don't know how long the actual trip is, but it's $10, right? Because a one-day pass is $10.
Well, the other thing too is we have the Jazz Festival here coming up as well, right? So you want to get people from Toronto
all those
out
groups
here for the Jazz Festival.
They should all be advertising, to specific areas in Toronto to get them out here. Put packages together.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's it for Tuesday, March 28th. The month is already almost over, and
it's spring, Don. It is spring.
Yeah, I think I heard that it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so that's encouraging news. Yeah,
it won't snow. It doesn't snow in spring, Don. So you got to think positively.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week, which will be in April.